Oh boy, don't we all feel small already? But let's just talk about how everything is much bigger than we think when it comes to our universe. So without further ado, let's get started and just understand everything that we know about us and just how everything looks at everything is just that small compared to everything in the entire span of the universe. Uh, you know, there's so much things, in the universe that we don't know about. And, I love to learn about everything in the universe, but everything is just, you know, that we just don't know about. So come with me on this journey where as we react to a video by Real Life Lore talking about just how big everything in the universe is and just see how small we really are. Alrighty, today we'll be checking out Real Life Lore, just how the universe is bigger than you think. So let's talk about Real Life Lore. Real Life Lore, it's a channel where you want to have a lot of information what's going on with the world when it comes to history, science, politics, and lots of other things that not really a lot of areas report on, but it's something that if you want to tune in and check out, check out Real Life Lore. They got a whole bunch of content. They've been doing this for many, many, many years. And so this is one of the videos that they posted. This is a video that they posted about 8 years ago. Already has 32 million views and 7.83 million subscribers at the moment. So yeah, let's show them some love. And if I want to do a real life lore video, it'll have to be something like space related. And that's something that you want to look out too, because it has a whole library of just things that you want to look at. So without further ado, let's check out just how the universe is bigger than you think.
This is Earth. You live here on this planet somewhere, and everything that you've ever known is located right here. But just how small exactly is Earth when compared to the scale of the entire universe? Let's start by zooming out to where we can see our nearest cosmic neighbor, the Moon. You may think that the Moon is very close to Earth since it dominates our night skies, but in reality the Moon isn't this close to our planet, it's actually about this far away, 384,400 kilometers away from you right now.
So to put that in perspective, if you look at textbooks, they always portray that the Earth and the Moon are about that close together. But in reality, if you look at the night sky right now and you're seeing the moon, all the detail and just how it dominates the night sky with your naked eye, but in reality, it's just about that far. So it's 250,000 miles away, and moon drifts about 1 to 2 centimeters per year. Just to put that in perspective.
Now, on average, you could fit 30 entire Earths in between this distance, and if you somehow were able to drive a car at a constant 100 kilometers per hour speed, it would take you about 160 days to drive the entire distance. Despite...
Quick question, how long would you manage to survive during a 160-day road trip, and how long? Yeah, I'll probably give it 5 days. Then I'm probably going to say, where's the, I have to pack up 160 days. Actually, no, so I have to double it, actually. So I have to spend 320 days on that road trip coming from to the moon and going back. So almost a full year worth of food and drinks and necessities. So almost a year.
To this incredible distance, however, 12 humans have actually set foot here, representing the furthest away that any individual human has ever been away from the Earth, and one of humanity's greatest achievements. This is what the Earth would look like from there if you were standing there with them, and if you wanted to communicate with somebody back at home, it would take a message about 2.5 seconds to travel between you and them, since that's how fast the speed of light can travel at.
And so yeah, think about it. Just in this distance, I mean, it's portrayed, but in reality, like I said, it's just very far away. And in that entire span, like I said, 30 Earths can fit in this entire span itself. 1.25 seconds to get there and back. So, yeah, well, before.
And if you wanted to communicate with somebody back at home, it would take a message about 2.5 seconds to travel between.
So yeah, 2.5 seconds just to get communication there and back.
You and them, since that's how fast the speed of light can travel at. This is a photo that was taken on Mars, and that tiny dot that you see there is Earth as seen from the Martian surface.
Nice.
On average, Mars is an incredible 225 million kilometers away from Earth, but that distance can be as high as 401 million kilometers. That means that whenever humanity
So that's just due to the elliptical orbits.
finally gets around to landing a human on the planet, that person will be 986 times further away from Earth than the astronauts who landed on the Moon were. In addition, the time delay for sending a message from Mars back to Earth isn't just 2.5 seconds, it's actually more like 20 minutes each direction, which would render instant communication in the event of an emergency impossible. When we zoom out,
Yeah, so in perspective though, yeah, so if anything like happens, like injuries, death, sicknesses, and just necessities like food, water, safety, and lots of other things, yeah, it's gonna be difficult to figure out the distance between Earth and Mars, because like I said, they're not in the same position in their orbits, because their orbits are elliptical. You know, yeah, so one day if we decide to live on Mars, put that in perspective, because the distance and the amount of time it will take to communicate back and forth, 40 minutes entirety. And that's kind of shocking, you know, because if you are waiting for necessities, you would have to wait a very long time. The entire span, if you want to go from here to Mars, it will probably take you at least about 6 years. Wait, how long? How long is the? How long is the travel from Earth? I'm guessing like so 6. I'm gonna say 6 years. Oh, actually, sorry. 150 to 300 days. So 7 months. I don't know why it said 6 years. I think that's the entire span to get to Jupiter, I'm guessing. Yeah, Jupiter's about that. But about 7 months total just to get to Mars. So any necessities would take 7 entire months just to get necessities and help.
out even further away, we can find the Voyager 1 space probe, which is the furthest away man-made object from Earth. It is currently located 138 AUs from the Earth, AU meaning astronomical unit, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which means that Voyager 1 is 138 times further away from us than the Sun is. At some point on its long
So if you take 93 million times 138, that will get you roughly about 13 billion miles away from Earth. And it's still partially communicating back to Earth, but in that distance alone, and it's hopelessly drifting, and there's not really much signal or battery life, and you know, it's just hopelessly drifting. So if you put in this explanation, just if it gets out of the solar system, it will take many years. Yeah, about at least 30,000.
voyage, Voyager 1 turned its camera around and took this photograph. It may not look like much at first, but in my opinion, this
Hey,
is
the
the
pale blue
greatest
dot.
single photograph ever
1990.
taken in all of human history. This tiny, pale blue dot is Earth, and I don't think that anybody has ever said something as amazing about this as Carl Sagan when he said, "If you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us." On it, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. The aggregate of all our joys and sufferings. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and every forager. Every hero and coward. Every creator and destroyer of civilizations. Every king and every peasant. Every young couple in love. Every hopeful child. Every mother and every father, every inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust
And it's
suspended.
crazy the amount of things that you listed off, and that's everything that goes on in this world. And it's just one big family photo and just that pale blue dot, you know. Yeah, 1990, this was captured.
Ended in a sunbeam. Voyager 1 is currently traveling at 17 kilometers every single second, but even at that speed, it won't break out of the reach of our solar system for another 30,000 years. Once we go beyond the solar system, we arrive in our interstellar neighborhood. Here we shift to the light-year unit of measurement, which is the distance that light travels in a full Earth year, or about 9.461 trillion kilometers.
So 6 trillion miles. You know, converts from kilometers to miles. That's 6 trillion.
Star Proxima Centauri here is the closest other star to us other than our Sun, but it's still 4.24 light-years away from us. To put that into perspective, if it was heading in the right direction, it would still take Voyager 1 over 70,000 years to reach it. In other words,
Youch. 70,000 years to travel 4.24 light years to Proxima Centauri. And plus 11 miles per second, I mean, that's relatively slow compared to anything that's a little bit faster that can get you faster beyond that. So yeah, so it will take a very long time at that slow speed it goes through the entire solar system.
if you drove your car at 100
been a
kilometers an
15
hour,
years.
like in our previous example,
They came from Earth all the way out to the very far expanse, so 50 entire years.
to the moon, it would take over 6 times longer than the entire age of the universe is just to finally get there.
Pardon?
Previous example to the moon, it would take over 6 times longer than the entire age of the universe is just to finally get there, and it wouldn't even exist still when you arrived. When we zoom out even further, we can see the entire Milky Way galaxy, inside of which Earth is located right here. This yellow dot is the furthest extent of humanity's radio broadcasts throughout history, which means that any possible aliens who live outside of this range are totally unaware of humanity's presence.
So, the Milky Way galaxy is 100,000 light years across. So if you're going about 62 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour, it would be 10 trillion years to just drive straight across this entire distance of the Milky Way galaxy. And like I said, I would probably last about 5 days. We're talking about 10 trillion years. Put that in perspective. 10 trillion. It's crazy. It's crazy, you know.
It's complete silence outside of this yellow dot as far as we are currently aware, but the entire galaxy spans over 100,000 light years from end.
Another fun fact. So, Voyager 1, even though it's about 14 billion miles or so away from Earth. So, put that in perspective. If it's at that same constant speed, about 11 miles per second, the entire length of time for Voyager 1 to escape from from the outermost arm to where our solar system is to the other side to reach the end of the Milky Way galaxy. It will take about 1.7 billion years for Voyager 1 to make this entire journey across, to even just get out of the Milky Way. But in a car, like I said, 10 trillion years of your entire life to escape the Milky Way galaxy. So 1.7 billion for Voyager 1, and in a regular car, 10 trillion.
To end. There are over 100 billion stars and over 100 billion planets inside of our galaxy. But you have never seen the full glory of the galaxy at night, because 99% of the stars that you can see with the naked eye are limited to this small, tiny region right here. But even this massive galaxy is nothing compared to the rest of what's out there. Zooming out even further, and we arrive at the local group of galaxies, a collection of 54 different galaxies that is about 10 million light years across. But zooming out even further, and we can see the Virgo supercluster, of which the local group here is just a tiny segment of. There are at least 100 other groups of galaxies just like our own local group inside of here, and the distance from one side to the other is a mind-numbing 110 million light years. But even the massive Virgo supercluster is nothing but a quiet and tiny lobe of the Great Laniakea supercluster, an enormous structure that is...
Do we all feel small right now? You know, the further and further out it goes, the more smaller we get.
Home to our galaxy as well as 100,000 other galaxies. The distance from one side to the other is 520 million light years, but from even there we can zoom out all the way to the entire observable universe and see that even the titanic Laniakea supercluster is just a tiny and insignificant part of everything. This is the
So, the observable universe. It's only what we can actually see. So this entire span is about 93 billion light years across. So who knows what's so far outside of this entire expanse? Because light can't really travel in that far of a distance from one side of the actual universe itself and then reaching to the point of the observable universe and to reach further and further on into the Earth. Yeah, I already feel small right now.
Observable universe, and it contains everything that we know of. It is home to at least 2 trillion different and individual galaxies, which together contain more stars.
And that's just the observable universe itself.
Than there are grains of sand on the entire Earth. The distance from Earth to any side of the observable universe is 46.5 billion light years,
So that's
which
half.
means that the entire width is 93 billion light years across.
Yep.
What's perhaps even more interesting, however, is what actually lies beyond the observable universe. Keep in mind that the observable universe is all that we can currently see, and it's entirely possible that the rest of the universe outside of it is vastly larger and more fantastic than we can possibly ever imagine.
We just don't know what's really out there.
We simply don't know what else is out there because the light from these incredibly distant places has not yet had enough time in the universe's history to reach us yet back on Earth. And the light from some places may never reach us at all. Because some parts of space very far away from Earth are expanding away from us faster than the speed of light, that means that the light from these places will never, in an infinite amount of time, reach Earth. Meaning that even if...
Yeah, like I said, you know, from one point of the universe to the other point. So light can't really travel that a big distance, and yeah, who knows what's really out there.
humanity is eternal and exists forever, there will still be an unknown number of places in the universe that we will never know about or ever see. So, it is very likely that as unbelievably enormous as it seems, the observable universe is just a tiny slice of what we can currently see of the entire universe. According to the theory of cosmic inflation that was proposed by Dr. Alan Guth, if it is assumed that cosmic inflation began at 10 to the negative 37th of a second
10 to the negative 37th of a second after the Big Bang.
After the Big Bang, and with the assumption that the size of the universe before inflation began was equal to its age
So take that number times.
times the speed of light, then this would seem to suggest that at the present day, the entire universe is 150 sextillion times larger than
Pardon?
light. Then this would seem to suggest that at the
Okay, so you take that number, so that number, 10 to the negative 37th of a second, times it by the speed of light,
after the Big Bang, and with the assumption that the size of the universe before inflation began was equal to its age times the speed of light,
And it's
then
eight.
this would seem to suggest that at the present day, the entire universe is 150 sextillion times larger than the observable universe. That number, for reference,
Jesus Christ. A sextillion is 10 followed by 21 zeros. So 1 times 10 to the 21st. 150. So 150 times 10 to the 21st. To the 21st. That's a sextillion.
looks like this, with this
And
many
look at the observable universe. It's just one teensy tiny. It's barely nothing.
zeros. Let this number sink in for just a moment. This would be similar to you thinking that the entire observable universe, everything that you could see, was the size of a light bulb, but then realizing that in reality the entire universe is larger than the former planet of Pluto. Imagine a light bulb in the center of Pluto, but we inside the light bulb were totally unaware that Pluto existed outside of it, and that's a similar situation to this. We are all so unbelievably small, but you shouldn't worry, because all that means is that there is so much left out there for us to discover together.
Oh, I already feel small right now. I think we all feel small right now. Oh my god. 150 sextillion times. 150 sextillion times the size of the entire observable universe. Well, I'm gonna close off this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. My mind's already blown.